I want to welcome you to the largest green development in the world. I want to welcome you to the new home of over 10,000 hardworking men and women right here in the state of Nevada. Now, I know what we're here to do today. We're here to talk about how to revitalize the Las Vegas economy, how to restore confidence in our future. And I know that City Center helped. We created quite a few jobs last year. But I got to tell you candidly, there was a time when I didn't know that this day would come. There was a time not long ago when I thought City Center could not be a dream realized. We had many sleepless nights, literally day after day in the early part of last year, wondering whether we were going to be able to finish this project. And I really didn't know what I would say to the thousands of people that were hoping against hope, really desperate to have an opportunity to provide for their families to work here at City Center in Aria. But I always knew that there was one man above all, one person that I could reach out to that could help push City Center to its completion. I knew there was one man who knew what City Center meant to Las Vegas, what meant to the state of Nevada, and of course, that man is my close friend, Senate Majority Leader Reid. Did anyone have any problems with banks last year? I did. And when those banks became a little less accessible to me, and I really needed to talk to the CEOs to explain to them what City Center meant to this community, what it meant to the state, I reached out to Senator Reid for help. Senator Reid called those banks, and those banks called me, and I really believe that is a great contributor, a really driving force to why we're all here today in a beautiful conference facility rather than in a parking lot. I know that there's no one in Washington fighting harder for the state of Nevada than Senator Reid. I know that he's the type of elected leader that I am proud of, that is working tirelessly to be an advocate for our community. I know he's fighting every day to help Nevada get through the perils of the last 2 years. And I also know that I'm a lifelong Republican. But first and foremost, I'm a proud Nevadan. Thank you. And as a Nevadan, I know in my heart that Senator Reid will stand up and do what's right for our state. So if City Center, in fact, symbolizes the resolve of a community, the courage of its people, and hope for the future, Senator Reid embodies that resolve and that courage and can make our future brighter. I'd ask you to join me in welcoming Senator Reid.
People in Nevada are really hurting. People have lost jobs. People are afraid they're going to lose their jobs. People are now working at the same job but being paid less. People are working at 2 jobs and can't make ends meet. With our housing, people have had their homes foreclosed upon. People are afraid they're going to have their homes foreclosed upon. They have a house now that's not worth nearly as much as it was when they bought it a few years ago. Now, it doesn't give those people much solace to say, but we stopped things from being a lot worse. We did some things to get the patient out of intensive care, and we did that. We stopped a worldwide depression. But that's little comfort to those people that are hurting so bad. The president today is going to address some of those things that are hurting so much in Nevada, jobs and housing. No president in the history of our country, no president in the history of our country has ever assumed office with such drastic economic and worldwide conditions as President Obama found himself in November 2008. No president. That includes Franklin Roosevelt. And we've done some good things. We've made a lot of progress. He came to Nevada 22 times campaigning for president. Every time he came here, he told the people of the state of Nevada, don't worry. If I'm elected president, there will be no Yucca Mountain. President Obama is a man of his word. There is no Yucca Mountain. It's gone. I can't really describe to you adequately what an honor it is for me. Someone that was born 55 miles from here in a little house, as you know, that had no inside toilet, no hot water, but here I am today, introducing to you with pleasure and honor the President of the United States, Barack Obama.
Hello, everybody. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Everybody, please have a seat. Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, what a extraordinary introduction from an extraordinary leader. I just want to reiterate something I said at the town hall meeting earlier. You could not have a better fighter on behalf of the people of Nevada than Senator Harry Reid. And I am just proud. I'm proud to call him a friend. Now, a lot of people in Washington forget where they come from. Harry Reid has not. And that's something that I've always admired about Harry ever since I first got to the Senate. He retains that honesty and decency and homespun good sense, and yes, sometimes some bluntness that he's carried with him since his boyhood in Searchlight. Harry comes across as soft-spoken, but he's made of very strong stuff. He's never been afraid to make tough decisions, even if they weren't politically popular, if they were the right decisions for his state and the right decisions for America. And so I just want to reiterate, his leadership has made a tremendous difference. And through these economic storms, he's never lost sight of the struggles and the hardships of the people who sent him to Washington. And every Nevadan should know the strength and the character of a man that I hope and expect to serve in Washington for many years to come. So thank you, Harry, for the great work you do. Harry also gets embarrassed when you compliment him too much. You know, he kind of say he looks away. Now, before I go any further, let me set the record straight. I love Vegas. There you go. Always have. Love Vegas. Enjoy myself every time I've got an opportunity to visit. In fact, just last night I drew a flush on the river and cut the budget deficit in half. Some of you know I can play some poker. Now, I did receive a little bit of heat, I know, from maybe some in this room when I said that folks shouldn't blow their college savings in Vegas. That doesn't mean I don't love Vegas. It wasn't meant to be a shot. I think everybody here would agree that the only place where people should spend their college savings is in college. There's no contradiction there. But look, I understand how hard things have been here. In the worst economic turmoil that we faced in generations, Las Vegas has been at the eye of the storm. When the economy suffers, the tourism industry is deeply affected. In fact, you've seen perhaps the steepest drop in tourism in the state's history. And I know things are starting to bounce back, but it's been a tough go. When folks are hurting and don't have the money to spend on a night out or a weekend getaway, that hurts the broader economy as well. So what happens in Vegas reflects what's happening across America. This area has also been hit by the home mortgage crisis as hard as just about anywhere in America. And this doesn't just affect the families at risk of losing their homes, as devastating as that can be. It also affects the many more families who've lost value in their homes and the equity that makes it possible to finance a business or secure a retirement. From their peak, home prices in Las Vegas have fallen in half. This is something all of you are aware of. And finally, Nevada has not escaped the wider devastation that's ripped through the financial markets and the economic fabric of our country as a whole. As credit became scarce and consumer spending dropped and businesses were forced to close their doors. Today, more than 1 in 8 people in Las Vegas can't find work. So no one needs to explain to the members of the Las Vegas Chamber of Commerce that we've been through a punishing recession, as bad as anything since 1930. The recession in 1980, 81 doesn't come close to what we've gone through over the last 2 years. And no one needs to tell you how important it is that we remain absolutely focused on bringing about a strong recovery. Our great challenge as a country is to create the environment in which businesses can expand and hire workers, in which middle-class families can find good jobs and save for the future, in which our economy is growing and that growth is sustained and broadly shared. That's my focus. That's Harry Reid's focus. To not only rebuild this economy, but to rebuild it stronger than it was before the crisis. So we undertook a series of difficult steps. And frankly, some of them were unpopular, deeply unpopular, to prevent that outcome. And I was at the town hall earlier today, and I pointed out, it's not as if Harry and I don't have pollsters. We got very good pollsters. And they tell us when things are unpopular. Don't do that. But we thought it was important to do what was right, not what was popular. So we acted to get lending flowing again. So companies like yours could get loans to buy equipment and restock, keep your doors open, make payroll. We thought it was important for ordinary Americans to be able to finance their homes or buying a new car or going to college or starting or running a business. All across the country, classrooms and school laboratories are being renovated. Roads and railways are being upgraded as part of the largest investment in infrastructure since President Eisenhower, half a century ago, initiated the interstate highway system. Right here in Nevada, hundreds of entrepreneurs have received small business loans. 1 million Nevadans have seen a tax cut. Hundreds of thousands of seniors and veterans have received emergency assistance. 250,000 people in this state have received additional unemployment insurance. And across Nevada, there are dozens of transportation projects and energy projects and construction projects putting people to work, doing the work that America needs done. And you know what? What made all this possible was the Recovery Act, also known as the stimulus bill. Now, there are a bunch of folks out there who would tell you otherwise and would say that the Recovery Act hasn't made a difference and created a job. But you know, facts are stubborn things. There's a famous story about a former senator, Daniel Patrick Moynihan, who was having an argument with a fellow senator, and the other guy wasn't doing too well in the argument, so finally he said, well, I'm entitled to my own opinion. And Moynihan said, yes, you're entitled to your own opinion, you're not entitled to your own facts. Economists tell us that the Recovery Act has helped stop the free fall in our economy and created or saved as many as 2 million jobs so far. And by the way, the actions of these critics speak louder than words, because many of the members of Congress who voted against the Recovery Act called it a boondoggle. Funny how they end up making appearances at ribbon cuttings for Recovery Act projects. It's a sight to see. They're up there cheesing and grinning, and they're trying to vote against their cake and eat it too. Now, this is not to say that all of our troubles are over. Far from it. We may have kept 2 million people from the unemployment line in this recession, but more than 8 million people have lost their jobs. We may have broken the back of the recession. When I came in, this economy was contracting 6%. This past quarter, it was growing 6%, a huge reversal. So the economy may be growing again, but that growth has not nearly made up for the terrible pain and dislocations that rocked businesses and families over the course of a very difficult 2 years. So we've got a lot of work to do. And I'm here to tell you, I will not rest. I know Harry will not rest until we're not just recovering, but we're prospering. I don't want Vegas just to be getting by. I want Vegas to be thriving. And I know that's what you want as well. So that's why Harry and I are working to provide tax breaks for small businesses to spur hiring. That's why we're fighting for health insurance reforms to address the crushing costs of health insurance for small businesses and families. And that's why we've continued to seek ways to address the home mortgage crisis, which has touched all parts of this country, but has hit Las Vegas particularly hard, where there are just too many blocks littered with brown lawns and for sale signs. Too many mortgage holders here are underwater, and where job losses continue to exact a terrible toll. So for these communities, recovery depends on continued responsible efforts to stop the downward spiral of defaults, foreclosures, and declining home values. That's why earlier today I announced a $1.5 billion investment in housing finance agencies in the states hardest hit by this housing crisis. And one of those states is Nevada. So that means that here in Nevada, we're going to be able to help prevent some foreclosures that otherwise would have happened. It's going to allow lenders to help homeowners who are underwater. And it will help folks who've taken out a second mortgage modify their loans. So the goal is to target communities at the center of the crisis and to empower local agencies who know these communities best to structure and tailor their programs in ways that are most responsive. You know, one of the things that I know of is of great interest to Nevada is tourism, and what are we doing for tourism promotion? I can tell you Harry is going to be championing a tourism promotion bill because, as he points out, why is it that every other country is promoting their tourist industry and America's not doing enough for ours? But that's just he's going to have strong support for that effort, but that's just one example. We are all in this together. If businesses and nobody understands that more than Las Vegas. If the MGM's doing well, that means its workers are doing well. And if its workers are doing well, that means that the housing market is doing well. And if the housing market's doing well, then that means that small businesses all across the region are doing well, who in turn are hiring more workers. That's the model that we've got to achieve. The most profound changes, the most dynamic innovations, they don't happen from the top down. They happen from the bottom up. But they always happen not just because of some single individual with some great idea, although a lot of times that's what drives innovation in our economy. It also comes from a culture of trust and mutual regard. America has always been a combination of fierce individualism, but also a sense of community, in the sense that we're looking out for one another. And every single successful business leader here understands that's the kind of culture you've tried to build in your businesses. That's the kind of culture we have to reinvigorate all across America. I'm confident we can do so. I'm looking forward to coming back to Vegas. I think my mother-in-law is going to get here first. She comes quite frequently. I maybe shouldn't say that in front of the press. But I want everybody here to have confidence that if we keep on working hard, we don't shy away from these tough challenges, and we're not looking backwards, we're looking forwards, then not only is Las Vegas going to thrive in the 21st century, not only is Nevada going to thrive in the 21st century, but all the United States of America is going to thrive. Thank you very much, everybody. God bless you. God bless America.